Sure. All right. One last thing. And as I do this, I want to welcome everyone on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitch, Mixcloud, Kick, Twitter, X, I should say, wherever you're tuning in from. Edward, what up, man? DJ CEST, I see you. C's from Austin, Texas. DJ Six, what up, fam? One quick thing I need to check. Anytime I stream, I record my streams automatically in OBS. And I noticed that the hard drive was getting a little full. The last thing I want to see happen... Oh, no, we're Gucci. Okay, got you. Last thing you want to see happen during a stream is that you see that pop up on OBS that just shows you like, hey, no more memory or no more storage. So we had to quit the recording. I do have a backup, though, because I'm using Restream. Restream also gives me a recording, but I prefer the recording out of OBS. But I have plenty of space, I just saw. So, SysEdit, salute. What's going on? And Narachin is in the building. Of course, Narachin on Facebook. And we got Peace Up. Peace Up. What up? What up? What up? So, I see my people on Facebook, on Twitch, on YouTube. I'll do a quick check just in case. Open up Mixcloud at the top. I know the people on Kick are supposed to be able to get in, so I don't need to check that. They can appear in the chat as well, in the Restream chat. It is only my Mixcloud people. Let's see. Mixcloud. Where is my dashboard on Restream? Wows. Okay, there you go. And my apologies for not setting this up in advance, but I had quite a busy day. I could only get in here now. DJ Damien is in the building. Chi-Town represent. What's going on? And we have 6-5 in the building. What's good? What's good? Okay, I am streaming to all those platforms. Mixcloud, are you good? Oh, Mixcloud, I hope one day they fix you. Okay, I'm live now. We have 8 people watching on Mixcloud. So salute to you. Chris Lopez, I see you right here on Mixcloud. Salute, salute, salute. From Twitch to Mixcloud. Yeah, I want to turn that audio off. I'll believe it. Okay. So what's happening? Welcome to the Share the Knowledge podcast. I'm your host, DJ TLM, right here on DJ TLM TV. This is a Q&A show for DJs, producers. We just talk shop. I share my experience. A lot of times I can use the help from the chat because there's a lot of you who have experience in fields that I just don't have a lot of experience in. And it's just fun to talk shop. Now, if you were here yesterday during my Sunday session stream, you have noticed that I was using the Rev 5, the DDJ Rev 5 Pioneer's newest controller from that Rev line. They have a Rev 1, a Rev 7, and now the Rev 5. I'm going to change this for a second. I never like it when I see people talking and they have a microphone covering their face. So I'm going to adjust that for a sec. There we go. More light too. Yes. I see you as well. What's going on? And you're listening to the podcast at the same time you're uploading your DJ mix on YouTube. All right, I have a question for you in a sec. And DJ Mario, I see you as well. DJ Locus in the building. Salute, salute, salute. Okay, so like I said, I used the Rev 5 yesterday. Pioneer has a set of controllers in their whole lineup, and it is the Rev lineup. And the Rev controllers all have a layout that I would call a battle style layout. For those of you not familiar with the battle style layout, this is how a lot of turntablists would set up their turntables. They would set their turntable sideways to have the tone arm as far away from them as possible. And you would have the mixer in the middle. Also, by setting them sideways, the turntables are just a little bit closer compared to having them in their traditional setting. The Rev controllers have that same setup. And I prefer that setup, that layout, over traditional controllers. Let me show you for a sec. I can put a light on it a little bit later on. We might actually just take a closer look, but I have to mic myself up if I want to walk over there. But I do still have it there. And don't worry, I can put a light on it later. But it is still there. The setup is still there from yesterday. So we can get into that a bit later. Hey, where did my audio go? Oh, there you go. So it is here. I prefer that layout because it is the way I normally play when I play with turntables. I'll have a battle mixer in the middle, scratch mixer with the performance pads there in the middle, and not as you see on traditional controllers where you have your performance pads either underneath or above the jog wheels. I can work with any setup, but I prefer this layout. That's also the reason why in my first look video, I said I would prefer the Rev 7 over the Flex 10, for instance. Now, does that make it a better controller than a Flex 10? No, for sure not. It is a different level. A Flex 10 is Pioneer's top tier controller from their normal controller line. And if you're looking at the Rev lineup, then the Rev 7 is their top tier controller. And you can notice that in a couple of things. So the layout is what makes the Rev 5 great for me, but you can tell that it is a mid-tier controller compared to some of the top tier controllers. And I'll name some examples because during my first look video, I only had like an hour to spend with that Rev 5. I was spending most of my time with the Cross 12. I had both of those in at the same time, and I only had like a day to work with them. So most of my time was spent using that Cross 12. After that, I spent a little time on the Rev 5, and I could tell that I like the way it works, love the layout. But now, yesterday, after streaming with it, I did notice a couple of things. ARM TV, salute, I see you. And when I'm coming to Florida, man, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. I've been there once. I mean, I've been to Orlando once with the fam, you know, all the theme parks and stuff, but that's as far as it goes. But I want to come back and check out a lot of places in the States that I haven't been yet, and I want to revisit places that I've been before. So it will happen. I just have no idea when. So, okay, first off, on Thursday, and for those who don't know, on Thursday, I have a new mix show called Certified Bangers. I wanted to use the Rev 5, and I came in early in the studio that day, had everything set up and ready to go because before that, we had a couple of little holidays. That's why you missed a couple of streams. I just didn't announce it because I never announced my holidays. I never let people know when we're going to be here and when we're not going to be here. Just something I don't like to share. Call it precaution. People don't need to know when you're at home and when you're not at home. So normally I don't let people know in advance, like, hey, I won't be streaming on Monday because we're out of the country. I don't do that. But we had a couple of holidays. I was back in the country on Thursday getting ready for Certified Bangers. Was going to use the Rev 5. And before I got started, you need to know that when I had the Cross 12 and the Rev 5 here, I also had a beta version of Serato because I needed that version to use the Cross 12 and the Rev 5. Okay, now, if you've seen my first look videos, you've seen that I used them. They worked. On Thursday, before I got started, learned a lesson. I thought, all right, I have that beta. The Rev 5 has been announced, so probably there's going to be a new version of Serato. So I just checked, looked for updates. There's a newer version of Serato. I'm like, okay, install. I installed it, and afterwards, I wanted to start my stream, and I spent the last like 20 minutes before the stream started trying to get the Rev 5 to work. Could not get it to work. The Serato software didn't even see it at all. So sometimes you have it connected or a controller connected, and you can tell that your computer is recognizing that there is a MIDI device connected, but something's not working. In this case, the Rev 5 was not recognized at all. All right. 2 minutes before the stream, I just took the Rev 5 off the table, placed the Rev 7 there, click connected. Of course, that worked. Did my stream on that. Now, I already figured it out while I was streaming, like, hey, I probably shouldn't have updated that beta version. Or before I actually installed that latest version of Serato, I should have read the notes, because normally when Serato releases a new version, they tell you what the updates are. I should have read that, because then I would have seen that the Rev 5 was not mentioned So that new version of Serato, the official version that's out now, doesn't support that Rev 5 yet. So before my stream yesterday, I was able to just install the beta version again, and then the Rev 5 worked. I like it. I still like it a lot just because of the layout. The workflow for me is the best one I have, that layout. But I could tell that there's a couple of things that are missing compared to my Rev 7. Simple things like queuing. So on the Rev 7 and on a lot of controllers, you'll have a little queue section just on top of the controller where you can either like switch between deck 1 and 2 or just hit that knob to go from queue to master, but it's on top of the controller. With the Rev 5, it is on the front. So every time I want to switch between queue and master, I have to adjust that on the front. On top, all you have is 2 buttons, Q1 and Q2, to queue the channels. But when I'm mixing here, when I'm live streaming, most of the times I do it inside the headphones. I don't want to make too much noise here. So with that Rev 5, every time I switched and I wanted to cue the song, but I still need to hear the song that's playing over the master as well, I have to adjust that cue master. You have to do that on the front of the controller instead on top. It's a little thing. I can get used to it, but it's not the same thing because, especially in a darker environment, you can't really see what's on that front. You can see what's on top, but the front is not that easy to see. So not my favorite way to work. There was also a little issue with the stems. I have to assume that that's just something in the beta and that should be fixed. And that was that anytime I activated a stem, so let's say I wanted to just take out the drums or take out anything, anytime I just triggered a stem, because the Rev 5 has stem controls, I would take out the drums and the volume would go way up. And after a second or two, it will go down again. Don't know what that was, but it's kind of annoying because most of the times when I'm using stems, I do it in the middle of a transition. When I'm in the middle of a transition, I don't all of a sudden want to hear one track get louder. It's not auto gain or anything like that. I checked that in Serato. I have to assume it's just something that happened in the beta. I did not notice it during my first look, my first tryout, but I definitely noticed it yesterday. There's probably more that'll come to mind in a second. Just thinking back to the stream yesterday, if there were other things that were really different, but there's like a couple of things that can tell you that it is more mid-tier than top-tier controller. But I still had a blast playing on it. Like the jog wheels, they really do feel like the CDJ 2000 Nexus 2. So I enjoyed playing with them, enjoyed cutting with them, did a little backspinning. You do not get info on those displays on the jog wheels. It only shows you your virtual sticker. That's it. No BPM info, nothing. So you do have to find all of your information on your laptop. Also something with the Rev 7 that is different. Your Rev 7 will give you a ton of information right on the jog wheel. I see Mixmaster G in the chat. What's going on? Check Dollar. I see you. Rev 5. Yes, I'm talking about the Rev 5 right now, actually. Used it during the stream yesterday. Bob Benza, I see you as well. Salute. What's cooking in the building? And did I miss anyone else? There was someone. Oh, Enya. I need to get back to Enya first. Okay, so first, before we get on with the rest, Enya was telling me he's listening to the podcast right now, and at the same time uploading a DJ mix to YouTube. So, just had a quick question for you. Did you do the method of checking the songs that you're using in your mix before you upload them to YouTube? I know Phil from Digital DJ Tips had one of those videos that he made like a little file with portions of all songs in there. Upload that to YouTube to check if the songs are okay to use and then use them in the mix. Did you do that? I mean, you said yes, bro, so I assume that's a yes. Because that's my problem for mixes for YouTube, because my live streams are all freestyle, so nothing is prepared. And yeah, most of the times my stuff gets flagged and taken down, or I get warnings. So I don't do that anymore. Maybe I'll do that once if I actually want to record a mix in advance, that I'll do a proper check to see if the songs I want to have in my mix are, if it's possible to use them in a mix on YouTube. But Yeah, we'll see. There was a question about the Magvel clamp. That was Nara. Where is it? All right. How was the Magvel clamp compared to phase? Is the clamp more reliable than phase? Hopefully the Cross 12 will bring turntables back to club standard. So look, that's a great question because it's wrong. And I'll explain why. Because I saw this a lot when a lot of us came out with our Cross 12 videos. The Magvel clamp is not the same thing as phase. They have nothing in common. They're totally different things. That Magvel clamp is just a part of the turntable. Phase is a wireless system for DVS. The Magvel clamp does not send any signals. It does nothing of the sort. All it does is it tightens up the platter to give the most correct signal or translate the movements the most tightly to the software. Cross 12 is a turntable. Look at it like this. You have something like the Rain 12. The Rain 12 is a controller that has a turntable shape and it resembles a turntable. It emulates a turntable. It has a motor in there, a moving platter. Cross 12 is just an actual turntable, and with a flick of a switch, you turn it into a controller. Nothing is sent wirelessly. The whole movement is translated just through a USB cable to your computer. If you don't connect the clamp to the Magvel clamp to the Cross 12, if you have vinyl or slip mat on top and you're moving that slip mat, the slip mat is moving separately from the platter. So that is not going to give you tight control. Your hand needs to actually move that platter back and forth, no matter if you have a slip mat on top or vinyl on top. So by placing the clamp on top and locking it down, whatever's on top and you're moving it, you're moving the platter. That's all it does. The clamp just tightens it up so that when you move your hand back and forth, you're actually moving the platter back and forth. Compared to when you take the clamp off, I can move vinyl back and forth. That vinyl is sliding over a slip mat, and the slip mat is sliding on top of the platter. So I'm not actually moving that platter back and forth as tight. So they are totally different things. The clamp is just a part of the Cross 12 turntable controller, and phase is a wireless controller system for DVS. That's why it's funny to me that people said that the Cross 12 was going to be like a phase killer when it's a totally different thing. Phase is going to be here, and it's something I will use. Even if I have a set of Cross 12s in the studio, which I would really like to have because I love the way they feel, I will still take phase to the club. Unless all clubs get Cross 12s, which would be amazing, then I don't have to take phase. And even then, I'd still probably just put it in my bag just as a backup, just because even in its case, it's a very small package, so it's easy to carry along. All right, so total difference there. You cannot compare the two because they are totally different things. But yes, it would be great if clubs would get a set of Cross 12s so that they can provide a great reliable turntable for vinyl DJs, and at the same time have a great reliable set of controllers for DJ software. All right. Then we have Leonzo had a question: when practicing mashups with vocals from one song and an instrumental of the song, what are some of the things I should be looking when choosing the songs, and is it legal for a DJ to do mashups of a song? Legal to do mashups. If you're playing in a club, you can do and play whatever you want. You're playing music. I cannot speak for different countries because I don't know the rules and regulations everywhere. But for instance, here in the Netherlands, the clubs, the venues, they have to pay or hand off a percentage of ticket sales to make sure that the right holder organizations, we have names here. It doesn't really matter what the name is because it's going to be a different name in different countries. But when you organize an event, there is a portion of your ticket sales that goes towards the music that you played. So it doesn't matter what you play, you are allowed to play music there. You're allowed to make mashups there. Now, can you make a mashup and sell it? No, because you're still using someone's instrumental, someone's a cappella. So you don't own the rights to that. But what should you be looking for when choosing songs? All right. So if you're going to take vocals from one song and we're talking about, let's say, singing vocals, it would be very, very important to take a look at the key. So if you're taking an instrumental, one song, and if that song is in a totally different key than the song that you're taking the vocals from, and you put them together, it can really clash and it could sound awful. So if you want to have the best sounding mashup, you want to look at the key. During my live streams, I do a lot of playing around with stems. And of course, I play a lot of hip hop. So then we're dealing with rap vocals. But nowadays, a lot of times you'll have melodic rap in there, or they'll have singing hooks in there, of course, as well. I don't always pay attention to the key. Sometimes I just do it by ear. And I know some of the mashups that I do freestyle on the spot are not perfect because I can tell like the key is off. It's not like a crazy clash, but it doesn't sound as great as it would sound if something is in the same key. So key is important. To me, the biggest mistake people make when they do mashups is timing. You need to make sure you know how the song goes. So you need to know how the vocal is supposed to be placed in the song. I know a lot of songs. I know how the raps go. I know how the flow is supposed to go. Singing, same thing. And even I have that issue sometimes when I'm playing with the stems and I use a new song, especially with some of these new rappers that don't really rap on beat the same way as older rappers did. If I don't know the song well, sometimes I'm doing a transition or I'm doing a little mashup live and I can tell like, ooh, I'm not sure if this vocal is still on beat. Is it because my timing is now a little bit off? Or is it because this rapper is just rapping off beat? And most of the times I'll take it out quick because it doesn't sound right to me. With songs that I know well, I can put on any acapella and instrumental of songs that I know well, and I know how the vocal is supposed to flow over the beat. I know when it's supposed to begin. And I've heard people make mashups, upload them to SoundCloud or whatever, of well-known songs. And you have a vocal, for instance, and you know that this rap starts on, let's say, a half count or one count before the one. A lot of times rappers come in before the beat. So this rap is supposed to come in like a count before the one. And then people make a mashup and they start the vocal on the one. Now the entire flow of the song makes no sense, especially when you know the song. It is the most cringeworthy thing for me. I mean, I lose my shit when I hear that. Like literally, no, not literally. Let me not fall into that trap. But I can't stand it. I said that because literally is used in the wrong way a lot. So I don't literally lose my ish. But yeah, you get me. So key, timing, very, very important. Isn't 8/8 in 160 the same as 4/4 in 60? No. Or it's a typo and you meant 80, because 160 and 80, you can definitely match that up and work with that. 160 and 60 is not the same thing. So you most likely meant 80, because that works perfectly. You can take a song that is 60 BPM and a song that's 120 and match them up. They'll match perfectly. So half double, that works. So I assume you meant 80, not 60. Big Dooley, I see you. Salute. And okay, let's see what Enya said. Okay, so Enya says no. So the advice is I prepare a small text explaining to YouTube that the mix. Let's see what that continues. And Thomas Garcia, Tommy G, I see you. Wait. Enya, I'm trying to follow because it is divided into pieces. So your advice is I always prepare small text explaining to YouTube that the mix, and then there's no next sentence. And then you say making sure that you would be able to delete the video if you might face any copyright issues. Sometimes I've been restricted for some countries, but most of the times it's okay. But I have a question. How can I reach a good amount of viewers? I love mixing house music only, all house sub-genres. I'm quickly going through this entire thing to find all India's text. Okay, so I'm not sure about that little text for YouTube, because here's the thing. You can explain to YouTube whatever you want to explain, but if they find songs in your upload, like labels have explain this. Like YouTube is not in charge of what goes and what doesn't go. They just the labels let them know what songs are allowed to be used and which songs are not allowed to be used. And when they're allowed to be used, most of the times it is like you say. In some, they might be blocked in some countries, or what happens a lot is they'll tell you like, hey, you have some stuff in there that's not yours, but your mix can stay up, but we're going to run ads on your video. And then the people who own the rights to those songs, they'll make some revenue off the ads that are played on your video. You also have labels that are just like, hey, if our song is used, take that video down straight away. And yes, Mixmaster G, you said something I was about to say. Keep in mind that even a test mix is greenlighted when a test mix is greenlighted on YouTube at the moment. It's not guaranteed that YouTube may not take it down later. And that is a big fact. You even have artists that were, let's say they were independent and they were letting DJs use their music and it was all okay. And at a certain point they were signed by a label, but the label also like re-releases the songs that they released independently. And now the same song you were able to use before gets flagged because now the label owns rights. All of that stuff can happen. So you're never really totally safe unless you use your own material. If you, the only way to be absolutely safe is to just use your own material. So if you are a producer and you use your own music, you can't go wrong. Even though, and I didn't go wrong, but I remember one of my videos on YouTube, I had one of my own beats playing. It was a Saturday Sessions video. I was scratching over one of my beats. And I got a notice from YouTube saying that someone had claimed copyright for that, like that it was theirs. And they gave me like a title and the name of an artist. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but I made this beat. Now, I just appealed it and it was overruled and my video was fine. But even in my case, the video couldn't be monetized for like a day or three until they resolved it. Now, I don't make a lot of money on YouTube, so I'm not like a big YouTuber that my video will make like a ton of money in the first couple of days. So it didn't really matter to me. But that was still funny to see a claim like that. But most of the times, like I cannot get into trouble when I use my own beats because I own the rights to those. So that's the only way to be totally safe. Ebony Man, I hate pushing out updates to Serato. Always have me a problem. And Edward says, I was wondering that. So you don't care about the flag streams on YouTube? Doesn't your channel get deleted? So here's the thing. I did also stream on YouTube because in the beginning it was okay. I did get like after every stream, I would get like 60 emails in my inbox. All the songs that were like recognized. But it was all okay because it was all like, hey, you don't have to do anything. And then they run ads on your stuff. Then there was a time, and this has happened twice on just don't do it anymore. It wasn't like a copyright claim. It was a policy violation type of warning. Now, that was a red flag for me. Like, uh-oh, hey, this goes against our policy, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, I'm not messing with that. So I didn't do it on my DJ TLM TV channel anymore. Tried it for a while on my old YouTube channel, DJ TLM. At a certain point, got one of those same policy violation warnings. And I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this. Even though I don't really use my old channel anymore, I still don't want to risk losing that, and I definitely am not messing around with my main YouTube channel. On Twitch, you can do your stream and be fine, and after you're done with your stream, you might just have issues with the replay. So I cannot use replays because most of the stuff is just muted because they recognized all of the copyright issues. But the stream is fine. So I just stream. After that, delete, and I'm good to go. And let's see. And you also had a question. The question was, how can I reach a good amount of viewers? Well, there's not really a hack for that. You're just gonna have to build that up. Yeah, I don't have a hack for that. That's the thing we all want when we make content. We want to reach a good amount of viewers. Now, if you, in your case, you're talking about that you make house mixes and you say all subgenres. Now, if you're into those subgenres, then maybe you're also going to places online to find those subgenres or interact with people who are into those subgenres. So the best thing for you to do when it comes to your online promo is just to be active wherever those people are. I don't know if that's going to be on a specific site or if there's like Facebook forums for those subgenres or just by searching for the hashtags on certain platforms. But find people who are into that music. When people post stuff that is in that genre, you make sure you are there as well. Now, don't go into those comments when someone posts, let's say an artist posts a new song from one of those subgenres. Don't reply like, hey, check out my mixes. That's not what I'm talking about. Actually leave just useful comments. It could just be, hey, love the way the song sounds, love the way this and that is produced, whatever. And maybe interact with some people in the comments. Don't spam by saying, check out my mix. I don't believe there's been a lot of people who've had success with that. But when you actually add value or are part of that community, then you might garner some attention and people might even check your comments and be like, hey, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. Oh, he's a DJ. Let me check him out. So that is part of it. Consistency is also part of it. You need to be on there, but you're not talking about live stream, right? You're just talking about uploading mixes. So I don't know how many mixes you've uploaded. And yeah, so how do you do this on a consistent basis, or do you just have like one or two mixes up? Because that also matters. Jay Valeria, what up, man? Zeus also had a question. I'm a beginner DJ, and I have a question about the sound needle. What tone needle do you recommend for back cue and a little scratching? I have a Pioneer PLX 500 and a Reloop RP 7000. The sound needles. Okay, you're talking about just the needle for the turntable. So you're talking about the turntables, but what needles are you currently using? I mean, there's a bunch of needles out there that work great for scratching. You could scratch with a lot of needles, but most of the time they might lack a little bit of the stability that you're looking for. Because when I started DJing, we did definitely not have scratch needles. Nowadays, you have needles that were specifically made to do the heavy stuff. So if I had to name a couple, and some of these are pretty expensive, I use the G-Co needles, which are the replacement for the Shure M447, which was my favorite cartridge and needle. Those were super steady, but Shure does not make needles anymore. So G-Co now makes a replacement for that. And I want to give you the exact name. So I'm going to look that up for you in a second, because it's one of those names with a couple of 4s and 7s and numbers and letters in there. So G-Co, they make needles. Audifon has a couple of different ones that could suit you well. And I would stick with Audifon or G-Co at the moment if I want to talk about needles. But they have a bunch that could work. So I'll try to remember and add some names in the chat in a minute. What sources do you use for your digital crates, SoundCloud, etc., or do you just have it all on a disk from what you use? So most of my collection is just music I have. I prefer to make folders on my computer and import those folders into my DJ software. The preferred method I want to start using more is just work with smart crates. But in order to use smart crates, or in Rekordbox you call them intelligent playlists, is that you need to have enough information in the metadata of the songs, so you need to tag them well. But I have the music on my computer, import that into my DJ software. Next to that, I use BeatSource as an additional source for music. BeatSource is an online music store, but they also offer a service called BeatSource Link. And if you have a BeatSource Link subscription, you can use all of their music inside your DJ software. Same thing can be done with Tidal, for instance. SoundCloud also has that subscription. I think it's SoundCloud Go. You can use all SoundCloud music in your DJ software. I have those as well. The only difference is BeatSource is actually catering towards DJs. So when you import or use BeatSource Link and use their music, you can actually see BPM and stuff like that. You don't get that with Tidal, even though Tidal probably has the most music. You could, back in the days, also do that with Spotify, but they don't do that anymore. So it's a combination. Most of the music is mine. I have it in folders on my computer. I make smaller folders that I call my crates, and I import those into my DJ software. But then I'll also use streaming services as additional sources. So yesterday, my stream, I did totally from BeatSource. But in order to do that, I did have to go to BeatSource first, select a bunch of tracks, put them in a playlist, and then I can see that playlist inside Serato and pick songs from that. Chris Lopez, what tips are recommended for great music selection? Sometimes I have a good flow going, but then I lose it in certain sets. How can I improve and keep it seamless? Look, we cannot always keep it seamless, especially when we're playing freestyle, and depending on how long you play. If you play longer sets, chances are you're going to have highs and lows, and you actually need to have highs and lows. But when I say low, it shouldn't be negative, but you can't really stay at one level the entire time. That's not really good either. You need to give the crowd a breather as well. But tips for great music selection, I believe that the most important thing will always be to know your music. The more you know your music, the easier it will become for you to think of the next song to play. If you don't know your music collection well enough, then you end up having to spend a lot of time searching through your songs. And especially in this digital era, a lot of us have a lot of songs. And that was one of the reasons why I want to make my collection that I use for DJing smaller. Because in the beginning, when I started to DJ digitally, I was bringing not all my music, but a lot. Like gigs and gigs and gigs, hundreds of gigabytes of music. And then you're scrolling through folders that have thousands of songs in there. And then you spend more time scrolling than playing or feeling. And that's not good. Taking it back to my vinyl days, even then I had certain moments that I just kind of lost it. So you go blank, like I have no idea what to play next. And then you're going through your crates. You go through the same records again, and sometimes even 3 times. And sometimes I just didn't have a clue, and I just had to grab something because my record was about to end. But a lot of times, because I knew my collection well, you play a song, and while you're playing it, you already in the back of your mind, you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to play this next. And sometimes it's even, I'm going to play this next, and ooh, I need to play that one after that. Knowing your music, the number one thing. Knowing your music. And the way to improve that is probably just to make sure that you actually listen to your music, which is something that takes up time. That is something that I don't do enough, especially with the newer music that I add to my collection. I need to spend more time actually listening. You're going to find particular parts in the song that you didn't recognize before, like, hey, this could be cool. And you're going to get a better understanding of the feel and vibe of your songs, which is going to help you out tremendously as well. Vinyl Touch, salute. En Marjan, welkom. Fire red, yes. Yeah, like I said, so 120 and 60, that works fine. If you can half it or double it, that works fine. That's why I believe that I forgot who asked. The person who asked and was asking, like, is 160 going to work with 60? That's not the same thing. If it's 160 and 80, that works. You ever use stems on record box? DJ Julio 7. Yes, I did, and I stopped right after. Look, I love Pioneer, but their stems are just not up to par yet. So I have good hopes that they will improve. Now that Alpha Theta also owns Serato, so Serato and Rekordbox are in the same family. Hopefully that can bring some improvements. But when I tried it out, it just did not sound good enough yet. So I tried it, stopped using it, and hopefully in the future I can use it again. Let's see. The question, Mariana has a question. How long to play the song before the next transition? 1:30, 2 minutes or more? There is no answer for that. And funny thing is, I made a video about this topic on my YouTube channel, I think like 12 years ago. Didn't think much of it. I just explained the way how I felt about that. And that video got a ton of attention at that time. I was like, oh, okay, more people are thinking about this than I thought. So I'm going to actually reiterate kind of what I said there. There are no real rules. I could say they're sort of like guidelines. So let me put it like this. It kind of depends on your time slot. So are you doing a warm-up set? Are you playing prime time? Are you closing? That plays a part because the energy level is going to be different during different parts of an event. If the energy level is a bit lower, it also allows you to play songs longer. When the energy level gets higher, I'm not saying that you have to play songs fast, and it also depends on the type of genres you play. I totally understand that, and I am not well versed, for instance, in a lot of house genres, subgenres. So for some of those genres, it's actually still normal to make longer transitions. But even in like some of the electronic music there, I've seen and heard that transitions started to speed up. So they started to play songs shorter during prime time. But for us, especially with hip hop, R&B, if I'm playing a warm-up set, I have time to play songs longer because it's not my job to try to one-up you every time with the next song and keep you at a certain level. Nah, I'm just creating a vibe and atmosphere, and I want you to be able to enjoy the song. When it gets a little bit more hype, a lot of times people just have a shorter attention span. So you don't want to lose that energy. You bring in a song, they recognize the song, they're like, ha, they sing along, but unless it's their favorite song, the energy is going to go down a bit. So most likely when I'm playing at a more energetic part of the evening and I play songs that have a chorus, so a hook and a verse and then a hook and then a verse, might start with an intro, but most of the times during a hyper part of the evening, I'll play one verse and a hook and then I'm off to the next song. I don't like what has happened in the last couple of years where people think it's more energetic to play 20 seconds of a song and then play the next one. I don't like that. I don't feel you give the song enough time and you don't give people enough time to actually feel the song. So I'll go for and that I'm not saying that's going to be 1:30 because with some songs, a verse and a hook might only be a minute. With other ones, it might be 1:30, but I'm going off the structure of the music. So verse, hook, and then I switch. Not always. That's why I'm saying there's not rules. There's certain guidelines. If I'm playing during a high part of the evening and I'm playing most of my songs, one verse, one hook. But every person on that dance floor is clearly really, really, really enjoying that song, singing every word along. I might just decide hey, they are really, really into this right now. Let's let it breathe. Even though I'm at a high energy level, they are really, really liking this song. I might give it another verse. Doesn't happen a lot, but that's why you want to keep your eyes on the crowd. Sometimes I'll throw in a song and I can see that it's a dud. So it's not working. It's not having an effect, or it's actually having the reverse effect. I'm losing the people because they really don't like that tune. When that's the case, I might actually just bring it out after a couple of bars. If I can see that the reaction is so negative, like they really are not feeling, either it's the type of song, so maybe I try to switch a genre and I can tell like, oh, this is not working here, or I try to take it back to old school, or I try to take it to new, and I can see that that doesn't work, then I might just let it play for a couple of bars, quickly look for a next song that I know will work because I've seen that they like genre A, B, and C. Grab one of those songs, echo it out, host, bang, bring it in, because I don't want to lose y'all. I'm going to grab y'all. So guidelines, not real rules. You want to go off feeling. You want to read your crowd. If I'm closing, and closing in this case means like the highlight has been, and now we just want to end this evening on a more smooth tip, you can start to play songs longer again, because we're not about that energy anymore now. So that is a thing there. So I hope that helps you out, and to understand that it's definitely not about looking at the clock like, okay, this song has been playing for a minute 30. I have to switch now, because you want to stick to the structure of a song whenever you can. Check Dollar says, for me, I'm yet to lay my hands on the Rev 5, but to be honest, it's going to be Game Changer. Rev 1 all good. Rev 5 is going to be something else. Yeah, I mean, a Game Changer, if you're coming from a Rev 1, a Rev 5 is going to be a great upgrade. Absolutely great. The Rev 1 is a great little controller, and I really liked it also because of that layout. But functionality-wise, feel-wise, the Rev 5 is an incredible upgrade. The bigger jog wheels that feel way better, a lot more controls on the device itself. Again, actually, if we're gonna do this, I need to put some light on it, yo. Let me put some light on that first. Hold up. Doesn't make sense to give y'all that screen without light. So let me just add this real quick. Open the phone. All right. Go into. All right, that gives you a little bit of a better view right there. So you get a lot more controls compared to something like a Rev 1. That is for sure. That's going to be a nice upgrade. I love the full size jog wheels. If you're using jog wheels, this is as big as they get. CDJ 2000 Nexus 2 size and feel. Stem controls, a lot of nice controls. And I'm going to use it for my next set probably as well, just to give it more of a test, because now I've used it once. I've kind of seen and felt certain things, some things that I want to like check, like, what happened there? Let me see if that is what I thought it was. So yes. Like it. And it's going to be a great upgrade for sure. Goodwill Hunter says, mask the samples and don't snitch. Wait, in reply to what is that? Did I miss something? I think I missed something. I don't know what that is a reply to. Leonzo asked, do you ever use sync when making mashups when your beat grids are not lining up because the software didn't analyze the grids properly? I don't really use sync at all, but if I'm using songs and I'm not sure if the beat grids are lined up perfectly, I would definitely not use sync, and I would want to depend. I'd rather depend on my own ears and control the song, the mashup that way. So no, I haven't really done that. I don't see a need for it unless I started to do stuff with like multiple decks. If I'm doing stuff with like 3-4 decks, and I can envision a scenario where you might have something with 4 decks and you can use stems. So I'm using drums from one song, the bass line from the next song, then I have an acapella and something else. You might want to add sync to make sure that it sounds well together. It stays in sync, but then it has to be analyzed well. The beat grids have to be on point. How's Head Speak? Salute. Check Dollar says, be careful, guys. Always use the same key for a mashup. If not, you're going to have a bad sound. So yeah, again, like I said, the key is important. I will add, it does depend, because again, if you're using a rap acapella, key is not going to be as important. If you have someone who just is doing a pretty monotone rapping style, the key becomes less and less and less important. Now, if they have a very melodic rap style and they're actually using different tones and notes in there, yes, you want to also try to make sure you keep that stuff in the same key. Otherwise, you might notice it. Or if you don't have that ear at all and you cannot hear the difference, then you definitely want to pay attention to key. I'm not saying I can hear everything, but a lot of times I can hear if stuff will match or if it's really clashing. Enya's, sorry, I'm only getting there now, uploading 1 or 2 mixes per week. So that's a lot. That's a lot for sure. So then you have a lot of material to point people to. Are you only doing that on YouTube, or are you making sure you also upload that to something like Mixcloud? Because I would also, like you said, I think you said that somewhere earlier, it's important to share your mix and let people enjoy it everywhere. For sure. You want to make sure that when people find your profile on any of the social media platforms, that they can easily find a link to your mixes. But you also want to make sure your mixes are in a couple of places as well. And Zeus says the standard Pioneer needle and one Orthophon Concord. So I don't know which needle comes with the Pioneer PLX 500. So I don't know how well that performs. And Orthophon Concord is that's a nice needle, and you can use that for scratching. It all depends on how heavy-handed you are as well. Look, like I said, I used to scratch with needles that were definitely not really made for scratching. And even with those needles, if you take your time, you can adjust your feeling. It's the same thing as like if I can borrow someone's car and I get into that car, the brake settings on that car might be totally different than the car that I was driving before. And let's say the car I was driving before, I had to like firmly hit the brakes to make sure that I'm slowing down in time. Now I get into that other car, and with the slightest touch of the brake, you're like almost standing still. You learn to adjust. You can't have a heavy foot then. It's the same with scratching. Like with certain records that I had, the record might be a little bit warped. So it's not flat, it's a little bit curved. That means that if my hand is too heavy and I press too hard on this side, the other side of the vinyl is coming up. And then you have to adjust your feeling just for that one record. You have to adjust your feel, your pressure, because I wanted to still play that record and I wanted to scratch it in. And it would skip like 17 times until I made sure that I gave it that lighter touch. So you can do scratches with a lot of needles. But especially when you get into actually wanting to do heavier turntablism, so more scratching, or you want to do proper backspinning with 2, bringing them back. The bringing back part, that is where sometimes needles will struggle as well. On top of that, something you also need to pay attention to, like I kind of was alluding to now, it's not always the needle, it's also your vinyl. So you could have a needle that's pretty steady, but if you have vinyl and if the center hole is a little bit too large, it means you're going to have movement. So if the hole in the middle is the right size, it will fit on that spindle and it will just smoothly go on and spin. And if you grab it, it doesn't go side to side. If the hole is too big, then you have actual extra room in the middle and you can move that record from side to side. When you're scratching, that affects it. And when it moves side to side, your needle has a hard time staying in the groove. So a lot of times I would grab like stickers and I would put extra stickers in the inside to make the hole smaller so it would have a good fit on the record. That would improve the steadiness. If your record is a little bit warped, maybe you have to try to flatten it out. Sometimes I could do that with a little bending. Only do that if your vinyl is thin. The thicker vinyl, if you try to bend it, you're going to break it. Put it under a big stack of books to flatten it out, because if it's more flat, you're going to have less issues with the pressure on one side and the other side coming up. So those things play a part as well. It's not just the needle. How often do you change your needles? What Whack-A-Meal wants to know. Like generally, I don't know. I was really terrible at that. I'm pretty sure I've used every needle I used too long. If you're strictly going off, is the sound quality still up to par? I'm pretty sure I was always late switching my needles. Sometimes I wasn't late because I broke needles and then I just had to switch. I don't know what the proper time is, because that also depends on how much wear and tear you actually put on that needle. If you practice once a week and you play once a week, that's not the same thing as someone who's practicing 5 hours a day and does gigs on the weekend. Someone who plays more, uses more, is going to need to change more. I have no numbers on this to say like, hey, if you use the record for so many, or the needle for so many hours, then you need to switch. I don't know. So that's something I cannot talk about. Kid Cupid says, I never use needles. Is it a big quality difference or timing? Well, there is a quality difference in needles for sure. Also, like sonically, some needles will, and I noticed that as well when I switch needles or play with different needles. Some just have will give you better audio quality. And in an ideal world, you would want to have the best of both worlds. You would want to have a needle that is steady, but it's also going to give you good audio quality. Now, I already know like the best, most high fidelity needles will give you incredible sound, but those are not made for DJing. They're made to just put on that record and let it play. But then again, it all depends on what someone needs and what you can spend on it. Like, for instance, the Deco needles I mentioned, they're not cheap. I think they're like $250 or something. So, yeah. There is a quality difference for sure. Patrick Morgan, here's the thing. I heard about Crate Hacker, sorry. I remember looking into it a bit at the time, and I haven't for a long time. So I can't really give you an opinion. But it's great that you mentioned that, because now that I see the name, I'm like, wait a minute. I remember that, and I remember looking at it for a second. I need to check that out again. Vinyl Touch, do you think there's going to be a line in the sand drawn by hardware makers, given that Alpha Theta acquisition of Serato? It seems that competitors to Pioneer could never get a special feature in without Pioneer knowing now. I don't know. So in what way would they be able to draw a line in the sand? I don't know. I have no clue. I mean, I know some people were expecting like drastic changes now that Serato has been acquired by Alpha Theta. And I don't think we're going to notice anything like that in the near future. I also think it is in the best interest for Alpha Theta to make sure that Serato, at the moment at least, continues to have a good relation with a lot of the other hardware makers out there in order to help it succeed. But no, I don't know. Let's see. Renee, an amazing morning to you as well. All the way over there in the Philippines. I see you. And Zeus says, I have about 186 hip hop vinyl as a beginner. It's enough for me, I think. Hey, man, That's a nice collection right there to start out with. That's a lot of records. So yeah, especially if you're a beginner, you have a nice selection to play with. I remember when I was first starting to practice DJing, I was practicing with a couple of records, so having a collection like that, that's dope. Now, of course, I built up the collection now that I have basically too much that I can't even find stuff. But you don't need to have hundreds of records as a beginner. Let's see. Chris Lopez says, thank you. I also understand. Thank you for the answer. You do listen to a lot of music, but you get overwhelmed. Any tips to break it down so that you can expand on the daily and learn more? I mean, no, I don't have specific tips. I mean, like I said, knowing your music is the most important stuff. There's a lot of music, and if you listen to a lot of different music, I mean, at a certain point, I did make kind of a distinction between like just normal listening music and the stuff I want to DJ with, because it's probably more important to focus on your DJ music collection instead of just listening to music. Otherwise, it will maybe become too much. But I don't know. I never had a specific plan or training method or anything like that. I just love playing music. So I was playing music all day. DJing, I mean, right at home. I was just practicing playing with my different records. So you get to know your collection. It is different now that you have the digital era and there's so much access to so much music that it can be overwhelming. I understand that. Yeah. Anyone in the chat? Is there a way? Is anyone in the chat? Are you guys practicing like a way to learn to know your music better? Because I've never thought about it like that. I've never practiced knowing my music better. It just happened by listening to a lot of music, playing a lot of music. So I'm interested to see if anyone has something there. Showtime Entertainment 404 in the building. Salute to you. And Leonzo, I have no idea if the Hercules Impulse 200 works with Serato DJ. I would say I think it does. Which one do I have? The 300. That works. I think it works with Serato and it works with DJuice, the software that Hercules makes, and something else. But I'm not sure. And most likely, if it does work, it's going to work with the light version, or it comes maybe even comes with the light version. I'm not sure. All right, had to switch that up for a second. That feels better. Yes. Do you think playing certain songs that another DJ plays is considered biting? No, the world does not work like that when we're talking about DJs. Let me put it like this. As a DJ, it's our job to entertain the crowd, right? For a lot of us, depending on the genres you play, I cannot speak for the genres I don't know. But if I'm playing at a hip hop and R&B party, the crowd is there for hip hop R&B. What am I doing? I'm playing hip hop R&B songs. I cannot claim that the songs that I play there are now songs that I play and other DJs can't play those songs. We're all playing from a collection of music that's available. So no. Playing a certain song, I would not consider that biting. Now, let me put it like this. There are situations where you could say like, I've heard that before. But that doesn't really apply to just like normal music. But let's say that there's a certain DJ and he comes up or she comes up with a certain gimmick where within a hip hop and R&B set, they grab something that's totally outside of the box that you would not play at a hip hop and R&B party. And that could be whatever, like an old TV tune, a TV series anthem, and they mix that up with a hip hop instrumental. That's something that not all DJs do. Let's say that appears, especially nowadays, in a clip online. And afterwards, you go to another party, and now another DJ, out of the blue, breaks out that TV tune and throws that same instrumental on top. That could be considered biting because it's most likely the DJ saw that clip and was like, yo, that sounds dope together. I'm going to do that as well. Now, is that illegal? No, it's not. Could it be considered biting? It could be. Should you care? That's up to you. I know in certain places, and there are certain, I don't want to call it like sub scenes, but I know especially in the States, in certain layers of the DJ community, there are people who are very serious about certain like mixes / mashups, and that there can be total beefs like, hey, I came up with this mashup and that DJ is biting. I understand it to a certain degree. Then again, on the other hand, I feel it is nonsense. It's going to be very hard for a DJ to claim that a certain mix, a blend between two existing songs is theirs, because you can never see what every other DJ might be doing in their bedroom when they're mixing up songs. So to say that you're the first who did it and someone else did that same mix, it's kind of hard. It becomes a little more tricky when it's something very specific, something totally out of the box, like some weird TV tune and a specific instrumental, and then another DJ does that exact same thing. Could the other DJ have came up with that same mashup by himself? It's possible. But nowadays with social media, it's a little bit trickier because, yes, now we get to see and hear more. Back in the days, we did not see clips of other DJs online. That didn't happen. The only thing sometimes is you would get like a VHS here from the States to see some DMC battles. And we've seen people do routines, like people who start to do the same Peter Piper routine that Jazzy Jeff did. Now, a lot of times people now do it as sort of an homage. And it's pretty clear that they're doing the Jazzy Jeff routine. But back in the days, it would be a lot harder to say like, hey, you saw me do that mix, because we did not hear other DJs unless they're in your area. Now, with social media, it's a little bit different. But bringing it back to the original question, if your question just is, do you think playing certain songs that another DJ plays is considered biting? No, I don't. And I feel this is where you can actually see the personality of a DJ and the style of a DJ. If we take 100 DJs and we give the 100 DJs 20 songs, and all of those DJs have to now do a short mix with those 20 songs, are those mixes going to sound the same? It should be no. You should be able to hear a difference there. If you have 20 songs and I have 20 songs, our mixes will probably not sound the same because we have the same music. Yes. How are we mixing that music? How are we making our transitions? Even if we take the same songs and we mix them in at the same point, our transitions can still sound different because I might EQ different than you do. Of course, for some DJs like myself, I'm going to be adding cuts, scratches. I might do a little double trick or something in there. And especially now with that digital era and stems and stuff, we should be able to make different mixes from the same songs. That's going to set us apart. And that is also where I feel a lot of DJs just show themselves to be pretty generic when all they do is play the same standard tracks that everyone plays and mix them in the same standard way. That doesn't really set you apart. So I hope that answers your question. Color coding your songs helps with the song selection as well. It's just going to take you some time to get through your music library. Yeah, Patrick, that's the thing. I want to get to that point where you have a lot of data in your songs, a lot of tags, color coding, energy rating, you name it. That also helps you with your song selection, and that allows you to do more with Smart Crate's intelligent playlists, because now if I have a certain stream I want to do, I can just go make a Smart Crate in Serato and say like, hey, for this stream, I want to have songs that are that color or maybe this color and that color, a certain rating, and between a certain BPM, this and that genre. And maybe I have a couple more tags that I can add that will help me. The more info, the more you can pinpoint what ends up in your Smart Crates. How much of a difference is BPM? Whack-a-mole. How much of a difference in BPM is too much to try to mix? Yeah, that's a rough one. In the vinyl days, it was easier because you did not have master tempo. So if you speed up your song, it doesn't only play faster, the pitch is actually higher. So the voices get higher, the tone of the song changes, same thing with lower. So for us, in my surroundings, a lot of the DJs I used to hang with, we try to stay away from the minus. So we never wanted to slow it down, or we slowed it down a little bit, because if you slowed it down more, to us, it didn't sound right. Speeding it up, I would try to never go past like 3, because if you go more than that, it starts to change the voices and everything too much. It's not like it automatically sounds like someone's a chipmunk, but it did change the sound too much. Now that we have stuff like master tempo, where you can actually change the tempo, but the pitch stays the same, it's a lot easier to change the BPM more. I can't name an exact number, but I do feel that once you hit the point that you're changing the, how should I call it? The rhythm, the flow of a certain track, the swing, the vibe, then it's too much. And what I mean by that, you can have a track and that track can have a certain drum pattern. That drum pattern is going to have a certain swing. That swing works at the tempo it was created at, right? So if you have a simple, that works in that tempo. You can speed that up a bit. If you take that to a +8, even if you have master tempo, the pitch stays the same, but now the drums don't have that same swing anymore. And I've seen people do that. I come into a club and I can hear a song. I hear the pitch is the same, but I can hear like, oh, wow, this is like a +8 or +10 because the drums are sounding totally wrong. Now, maybe it's the drummer background in me that hears that immediately. But there comes a point where that is a little bit too much. So I love, by the way, the fact that we have master tempo, because it did open the door for more tracks to be able to be mixed together without sounding crazy. Because yes, now if I need to, I will go to a +4 or a +5. I will take tracks to a -2 or 3 to make the transition. Now, most of the times I will, after the transition is done, if I go to -2, I make my transition, I will then slowly bring it back to around 0 just because I want to stay out of that minus. But it's easier because you don't hear the pitch change. But I can't give you a number on too much, but there is something like changing the swing of the song. Clean or dirty tracks. I play a lot of dirty tracks because we are not really used to that here in the Netherlands, the clean tracks. Our radio never played censored versions, so we always heard dirty. But I do think about sometimes that I might want to switch up for certain streams that I do because I want certain streams to be able to be played, especially because all my mix sessions all go online afterwards as audio replays on Mixcloud. If I want to have that, so like, and yeah, we were talking about your mixes and you want people to enjoy your mixes. I want that same thing, and I know that certain people would want to play my audio replays at their workplace or whatever, but they can't because I play dirty versions. So that does have me on the edge of like, maybe I do need to have some clean stuff in there, because then I know that my mixes, even after I've done the live stream, can be just played anywhere without any issues. But normally I play dirty versions. But it depends. Let me add that. And I've said this before. I played at kids' parties for my son's school back in the days, and I was definitely playing clean versions there. Ebony Man says, do you think Numark will put out a competitive top-tier controller? The NS6 was my first, which makes me a fan, but it looks like Numark is focusing on intro-level controllers. Yeah, I'm not sure. That might be... Like, you have to consider that we were talking about Serato and Pioneer now being owned by the same company. When it comes to Numark, you kind of have a similar situation there where it's owned by a different company. It's owned by InMusic. InMusic owns Newmark, but they also own Rain. They own Den and DJ. And if you own all those brands, do you want to have like top tier, entry level, and everything with all of those brands? Or are you going to try to mix it up so that you don't become too much of your own competitor in there? See, the difference between Serato and Pioneer being owned by the same company is that Serato doesn't make hardware. But if you have, they have more companies. They have Akai as well. So Akai, Newmark, I think M Audio, I'm not sure. But like I said, Denon, Rain, they have a ton of companies. So that might be the thing, that they're trying to make, to a certain degree, different devices with different brands. But then again, they do have, if I'm not mistaken, Newmark also has a pretty nice standalone, where they also have a Denon standalone, but they still are different. So yeah, I don't know. The NS6 was nice though. I remember that. I haven't played with it much. I had the NS7, and I remember playing at a certain event, and they had an NS6, and I remember that was a very nice controller. Beyond that, I do know Newmark mostly from their entry level, their mixed track lines, and then of course when they came out with that NS7. That was amazing. That was amazing. They made the Mark II and 3. And even with that one, you would think like, hey, why was Newmark never coming out with like a newer version? Well, InMusic also has Rain, and they did the Rain 12, and then they came with the Rain 1. So, I mean, and even with Denon, they made a motorized player. So that could be a reason why there's never was like an NS7 Mark IV. I mean, to me, that would be amazing. They would make like a Mark IV, maybe add some stem controls, a couple of things. But yeah. So I don't know if we might see it one day, but I don't know. Fire Red says, I use mixed vibes across DJ 3.4.3. I haven't heard that name in a while, though. Yeah. And we got Eris Ramirez coming in from Belize. Good morning. And let's see. DJ JCATL is using Denon mobile players on the stream now. Have you ever used those? What do you think of them? No, I have not. And they are on my list to try out, but I haven't tried them out yet. Oh, motorized, not mobile. Okay, got you. I was thinking like mobile. I thought you might mean standalone. Motorized. So that's probably the SC6000M. I would have to assume, right? I've used the 5000M, and I like that one. Kind of reminded me a little bit of what you had with the V7 by Newmark, which was their standalone player. They had like the NS7 controller with 2 motorized platters, and then they had the V7, which was just one player with a motorized platter. They kind of did, Denon did the same thing with like the SC 5000 and 6000, the M, the motorized versions. Check Dollar says, I've been there. I'll advise you to get your tracks analyzed and beat grids for mashups. If not, with or without sync, it's not going to work. No, that's not true. That's not true. So yes, if your songs aren't properly, if the beat grids aren't lined up properly, then sync can be an issue. But if you don't use sync, then beat grids are not an issue because they're not a factor. When I'm doing mashups, I'm not even looking at stuff like beat grids. I'm taking an acapella of a song I know. I'm taking an instrumental. I understand where the acapella needs to begin. I make sure the tempo is correct. I bring the acapella in at the right point, and then my ears do the rest. So I listen, and I can hear the flow, and I can hear like, okay, it's playing the way it's supposed to play. Then if I hear like one word that I feel came in a little bit too early or a little bit too late, I understand I have to make a micro adjustment. I have to either just give it a nudge or give it a nudge and speed it up a little bit, you name it. But if you're not using sync, beat grids are not something that comes into play. So yes, I agree with the sync part, but the non-sync part, if you're not using sync, your ears are what you're using. And sometimes even the BPM info can be wrong, and then your ears are still going to help you out. I mean, I used to do this in the vinyl days. Just bring in an instrumental on the spot, grab an acapella, and you're doing this while you're DJing for a crowd. So it's not like I can throw on the instrumental and then give myself like a minute to first cue it up and listen on the headphones like, okay, is the acapella playing at the right speed? Nah. I have that acapella playing, the instrumental playing. I grab that next record, go to the acapella, go to the beginning. Timing wise, I know where to bring it in. I bring it in, and while I bring it in, I'm working that pitch straight away to make sure I keep that acapella where it's supposed to be. That is a vinyl era where we did not even have stuff like beat grid. So you can definitely do that. Rodney Knox from Germany, wie geht's? Man, I was just in Germany a couple weeks ago. It was my first time in Dusseldorf, and that was nice. And I'll be back in Germany. I'm in Germany more often, not a lot, but I'm there more often. I did a vinyl set there in Münster a couple of months ago, so I'm over there every once in a while. And Edward, you're probably not hearing this anymore because I'm just not reading this, but you had to go and catch a train, so I hope you got that train. Clovey SA from South Africa, I see you, salute. And I'm reading the clock right now, and where's my OBS? I see that we are actually already over the time. I've not been paying attention. My new streams are only 75 minutes. I need to have a timer on screen to keep this in order. But I'm going to finish the questions that we have here. And after that, I have to end this. Let's see. Vinyl Test said the mag clip on the PLX Cross 12 helps with that too. With that, I don't know what that is. Did I miss a Vinyl Touch? I don't know from how long ago that was. Let me see. Sorry guys, I'm gonna skip that one because I'm running behind again. That was from 25 minutes ago. So okay. Speaking of needles, have you used Reloop needles? I see them on sale on Amazon, and I'm thinking about getting them. No, I haven't. No. But now that you mention it, I might have to try and get my hands on some. Yeah, Vinyl Touch. I understood the draw a line in the sand thing, but I just don't know. Do you think there's a difference in sound quality between black and colored and tri-colored vinyl? There used to be, and if I'm not mistaken, nowadays that's not that much of an issue anymore. That was a thing that in the past when there were like special editions of colored vinyl, splatter vinyl, you name it, that there was a decrease in quality. And like the artist I've been working with for 25 years, touring with Brain Power, Brain releases a lot of his music, basically all of his music on vinyl, and he's really into these special editions, doing all sorts of things with colors, with, like I said, splatter vinyl, marbled vinyl, you name it. And he does that now because the sound quality has improved. So I don't believe there's a difference, or at least like it's a marginal difference, like not that much anymore. Good Will Hunter says you can't bite another DJ's routine, but you got to force yourself to come up with a new twist on those staples that everyone plays, transitions, combos. Well, I don't know if that's true. Like if you take a routine, like we're not talking about just mixing songs. So I don't know if we're talking about the same thing, but when I say routine, I'm talking about like an actual turntablism style routine, right? So I'm not talking about someone who mixes a couple of the same songs as someone else, but I was talking about literally like a Jazzy Jeff, Peter Piper routine. If you do that same routine, then you're definitely biting that routine. With Jazzy Jeff's routine, it's kind of turned into a staple. Like a lot of DJs will do that routine as sort of an homage, you name it. I try to stay away from it. So even if I'm playing Peter Piper and I mess around with it, I try not to do that same thing, even though people expect you as soon as you start to play around with that and you get to that, there it is, that you're going to do the couple of spins and then there it is. I try to stay away from that just because that's Jeff's thing. So yes, I will agree. You could, of course, you can do a routine with the same records, but then you want to do it differently. Do different juggles, different backspins, different scratches. Otherwise, you kind of are biting someone's routine. Monthly subscription or buying tracks for your set. Which of this is good? Hey, that's up to everyone. Like for me, I prefer to have my music, own my music. But then again, I also use BeatSource. BeatSource is a monthly subscription. I get to use their music in my DJ software, but I don't own that music. So having a subscription to have access to a ton of music could be good because you can try out a lot of songs and figure out after a certain time, like, hey, make a list of songs that you feel you really need to add to your own collection and then buy them. But at the end of the day, I do want to have my collection of music. I have a large collection. So for me, it is like additional to have a subscription like that. But on top of that, I'm talking BeatSource now. You could have a subscription to a DJ pool. And in that case, you have a subscription, but you get to download and keep the music. But at the end of the day, I would prefer to have the music on my computer. We should be pushing the culture instead of playing policeman. We do it to entertain the crowd in front of you on the night. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what that means. So here's the thing. We should be pushing the culture instead of playing policeman. But what is the culture? Because I'm not sure if you're replying to the comments about biting like routines and playing same songs type of stuff, if that's what you're talking about. Because especially when it comes to hip hop and it comes to DJing and battles are part of the culture. And not doing the same thing as someone else is part of the culture. So saying pushing the culture and not policing, I mean, they kind of go together, but I do feel there's boundaries. So again, to simplify, just when it comes to playing music, we cannot claim certain songs as DJs, and we shouldn't want to do that. We can all play all of the songs. But if you're doing a specific DJ routine and someone else does your routine, you can point that out. Like, hey, that's my stuff. Comedians have that same thing. Like, there were people who started out in comedy and they didn't have their own material. So they were doing other people's jokes. And that would work when they came to places where they had not heard the other comedian. But at a certain point, they get called out like, hey, bro, those aren't your jokes. You need to come up with your own, you know? So there is a level of policing, but yeah, it shouldn't be too much. But maybe you are not talking about that specifically. That's my only problem when I read comments a little bit later than they were said. I'm not sure what they are replying to. And Patrick Morgan, yes, indeed. I've thought about that before. It would actually make a good show. That is something to look into because that could be fun, indeed. The worst I've heard as far as client requests, can you mix the songs like insert other DJ's name here? Oh, wow. Okay. Yep. I've never had that request, luckily. I don't know how to respond to that. Yo, if someone would ask me that, like, hey, man, can you mix these songs like DJ whatever? And Chick Dollar says, do you often do mini mixes? Record your tracks for quick mixing. How often do you mini mix? Wait, how often do you mini mix? Record your tracks for quick mixing? I don't record any type of mini mixes that I use in my DJ sets. I have said as advice to other DJs who are starting out, like, hey, it could help if you prepare a couple of mini mixes that whenever you're stuck, you have like a go-to mix in your head that you could do whenever you don't know what to do next. Like, okay, let me just play these songs. But I don't have anything that I record and prepare for my mixes. Rainy D, salute to you. Reactor, have a hard time using my DDJ 400 at my desk PC. The limited setup space on my desk and larger screen have thrown me off. Doesn't feel right. Not sure how to explain. No, I'm trying to figure out. So you have a hard time using your DDJ 400 at your desk PC. Now, I'm very familiar with the DDJ 400 entry-level controller. I still use that on certain occasions. Even used it on a very big stage a couple of months ago. The limited setup space on my desk and larger screen I have throw me off. It doesn't feel right. So what could be it? Could it be that you're just too close to that big screen and that's kind of throwing you off? Otherwise, yeah, you said it yourself. It's you're not sure how to explain, and I'm not sure how to understand this one. If you think of a way to explain it, you can also just drop it in the comments after the stream is done, or send me a DM on Instagram. And Zeus says, I wish you were my teacher. I also live in Germany. Well, I don't live in Germany, of course, right? I live here in the Netherlands, so we are neighbors. So yeah, I'm currently not teaching. It is something that I might end up doing later on. So who knows? So it's not in the near future that I plan to actually do stuff like that. The first thing would still be a DJ course. I am doing like one-on-one consultancy now through DJ TLM TV. So I have a membership tier on there, the backstage tier. And with that tier, you get all the perks that people get when they become a member. But this also has a monthly 1 hour video call in there. But that's not the same thing as like being someone's teacher and actually doing all sorts of lessons. So we'll see. All right, I'm quickly going to go through these last ones, and then I have to call it a day because I'm almost 30 minutes over time. I just like talking about this stuff too much. And I appreciate y'all in the chat being here with me as well. The white circle in Serato that shows you the BPM. There are symbols next to the BPM. Do you have any idea what those are for? And what's that for? Oh, the symbols next to it. Oh, wow. And the thing is, I see those all the time. But currently, I'm trying to think of what symbols you see there. Damn. I'm going to have to look that up. I currently don't have it in front of me. Vinyl Touch says, is it biting if you've never heard the routine, though? I want to guarantee that if we're talking turntablism, there's no way on earth two different DJs are going to come up with exactly the same routine. I don't see that happening. Even if there's like a part in the routine, let's say two DJs take, within their routine, they have one part where they use the same song and they use the same juggle. It could happen. It could happen, especially if the juggle is on a semi-basic level. You could do the same thing with the same track for sure. But to have the routine be the same intro, same scratches, same juggle, I think the chance that happens is slimmer than slim. I'll never say never, but let's be honest, that like a 3 or 5 minute routine, within that routine you do all sorts of things, and two DJs across the world come up with exactly that same thing. That's too much. Now, two DJs can come up with the same mix, and that could be like 4 tracks in a row where you're playing the same and they play the same tracks. Because I've seen that a ton of times where there were a lot of DJs here at a certain point that would play, they would always play the hits. And certain songs go well together. And I could hear like 5 different DJs play. And I could basically point out like, okay, they're probably going to play this song next or that song. And I was right most of the time because they were pretty generic and they would fall back on the same songs. Now, did they hear that from each other? No, it's just the way most DJs would play those tracks because they work well together. But that's not the same thing as like in a routine. I don't know. All right. Let's go real quick. What would you say is the best way to get gigs when you don't have any contacts in the scene? Going to raves and diving into it hasn't had any effects yet. it often feels fairly gatekeepy. It probably is very gatekeepy, and I would say that you definitely need to have contacts in the scene. So I don't think it's going to work without it. Or you're going to have to be able to build up such a fan base online that there are enough people within your area that are actually basically requesting venues to book you. So that can happen, that you build up your own fan base, maybe even by renting out like a small cafe and starting your own party there. The joint can only fit 50 people. And you get all your friends in there and maybe let them invite one person, and you have a full cafe there with people who like the type of genres you play. You do that for a couple of months in a row. And if it has an effect that more people want to come, then maybe you go a little bit bigger. You record stuff there. You post those online. You make pictures and videos. You post those clips as well, and make sure you get them to people within that scene who listen to that music. That's going to take a long time, but you build a fan base, and maybe that can help. But on top of that, you need to actually know who's who to get your gigs. So if that means that you know all the DJs, and some DJs might take you along someday, or you just make sure you get to know all of the bookers or owners. Without that, yeah, because gatekeeping is a thing. People will look at the people they know first. So I don't think there's going to be a way around that. Ever been in Tokyo? No, not yet. Want to go there. Have you ever been to South Africa? Any plans to come this way? No, I haven't been there yet. Want to go there. When it comes to Africa, I've only been to the Gambia, and I definitely want to check South Africa and more places. When are you stepping in Paris? I don't know when I'll be in Paris again. I've been there before, and I'll definitely be back, but I have no idea. I feel like if you try to do a routine with Piper, someone will say you're biting. Peter Piper, yes. Now, and that's why I said when I use Peter Piper, because this is a song that all DJs can play, just like we can play all songs. I'm hesitant to do stuff with it, just because of the fact that people will feel like, oh, hey, there's that. The funny thing with that one is somehow that elevated to a level that so many people have heard it that sometimes they kind of basically almost request it. Even though they know it's that routine, they want to hear that as if it is an actual song. So I feel you can get away to it with to a certain degree. And especially if you would announce it first, like, hey, this goes out to my guy, Jazzy Jeff. And then you do it. People won't say you're biting because you're actually giving credit, so it is an homage. But whenever I use that track, I try to stay away from the stuff he did with it, which is pretty hard because I love the Transformer and stuff as well. But yeah, I feel you. Rico Radio, salute to you. Sci-Fi X, I see you. Or Sci-Fix, I see you. And yeah, that's it. That was everything in the chat. I made it. It took me 30 minutes too long. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. This is the Share the Knowledge podcast right here on DJ TLM TV, available on most of the platforms. And I'll be back here next Monday. Before that time, I want y'all to tune in on Thursday for Certified Bangers and on Sunday for the Sunday Sessions. I fell a little bit behind on my audio replays because of the holidays, and we were out of the country a couple of times. So I've stepped that game up a bit again. Certified Bangers 1 is up on Mixcloud now. The Sunday Sessions up to last episode is online now. My birthday bash, my 6-hour all vinyl stream audio replay is up on Mixcloud now as well. And today and tomorrow, I'll be uploading Certified Bangers 2 from last Thursday and yesterday's Sunday Sessions. And then we're all up to date again. So all audio replays on mixcloud.com/DJTLM. Now for my merch, stuff like this, make sure you check out DJTLMTV.com. And if you truly want to support this platform, the best way to do it, better than a Twitch subscription or anything else out there is to become a member on djtlmtv.com. I have different membership tiers there that offer you different perks. And in the coming like weeks and months, I'm going to be upgrading a lot of stuff there to give you guys more extra stuff as members. And that could include like an extra Q&A session there. I'm working on doing some breakdown videos for mixes, stuff that I can't post on YouTube because of the copyrights, but I'll find a way to make sure you have access to that. So that is what I'm working on. So even if you're not joining, make sure you check out djtlmtv.com. And again, Thursday, you can find me here with Certified Bangers, Sunday with the Sunday Sessions. And for more DJ talk, join me next Monday for another Q&A. All right. Thank everyone in the chat. Nick D said it. Smash that like button. Hit it, hit it, hit it. The Sava, I see you. Jay Valeria, appreciate you. Track the software about to be off. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Everyone in the chat, all the lurkers listening, appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all. And see y'all next time. Peace.